This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about the all too common problem of being too frugal and underspending in retirement, how this frugality can rob you of a fulfilling retirement, and steps you can take to find a better balance with spending and preserving your financial security in retirement. Today, I'm talking about why it's so hard to spend for so many of you. I talked yesterday about how I struggle with over frugality in ridiculous ways. The mindset that helped you save and invest and accumulate wealth can later sabotage your ability to actually enjoy it. Now, I talked about the duct tape media cabinet that I have in my kids' playroom, which is frugality gone too far. But there are lots of other examples I come across all the time with people I know, with my own clients. It would be things like putting off the purchase of a new car when your existing car has become so reliable, it's constantly in the shop. Now, I'm not talking about like you can't actually afford to buy a new car. These are people who have plenty of assets available. It would be very easy for them to take a little bit of money out of their retirement savings and spend that money on a nice, new, reliable car. But they don't, primarily because of this mindset. Like, what got me here is different than what's going to get you to an enjoyable retirement, which is giving yourself more of a license to spend, especially on necessary things. I understand too, I think this is a common problem that spending can feel threatening. The money is leaving your bank account, it's leaving your investment account. It's going towards something, and maybe you have proof of that, like new cars sitting in your garage, but maybe a lot of times you don't. Sometimes you need to spend it on, it's not stuff. It might be a medical issue. It could be travel where the only evidence that you had of spending money is the photos and the memories. Whereas saving can feel safe. And a lot of people get a lot of satisfaction from watching their bank account grow, watching their investments grow. And it can feel painful, like physically painful to see that value go down, not because of the market taking a downturn, but simply because they took money out. And so they don't want to touch it. They view it as something not to be touched and to avoid dipping into at all costs. And I think the longer that you've been disciplined with saving money, the harder that transition is when you get to retirement. And now you're having to think, okay, well, I've saved this money. It is for me to spend and enjoy in retirement while providing for my legitimate and ongoing needs of bills I have to pay, keeping a roof over my head, all the expenses and costs that come with just living. So I think some important questions to ask yourself if you are tempted to over frugality and if you're having a hard time making that transition into retirement is, are you putting off necessary or purchases that maybe are not necessary, but you know that they're going to bring you joy and satisfaction and help you live a meaningful life? Are you putting off those purchases for the sake of the almighty dollar and watching that continue to grow? Are you valuing your future security over your present quality of life in extreme ways? The use of duct tape is a common theme I'm finding in my own situation. But back in July, we took our minivan up to Seattle and we stayed at a hotel there in downtown Seattle. There's no parking there. So they force you to valet your car and then they have to park it at a garage that's like 5 blocks away. Our car came back and the mirror on the driver's side was literally hanging from the wiring off the car. And there was a ton of damage on the side panel and the door panel of the car. And it is September and that mirror, so we duct taped it, like used an entire roll of duct tape so that we could make the 3-hour drive home without the mirror falling off again. It's now kind of a running joke that like we just have this beat up minivan that had an unfortunate run-in with a yellow pole because there's also yellow paint transfer from this pole in the parking garage. And what's really odd about this is, frankly, we've just been too busy to deal with it, but it's not even an expense that we're going to have to incur ourselves. The hotel immediately took full responsibility. They offered to pay for it. My husband decided that we would just pay for it out of pocket and then send them the bill. And they've been great from the very beginning about their intention to reimburse us for this expense. So we really have no excuse not to fix the hanging duct tape mirror on our minivan. But that was a couple months ago. And part of it is being busy, but part of it is just like, well, it's working. It's fine. I have to lean forward and like off to the side to see, because the way the mirror is positioned with the duct tape is not in the correct position for what I need to see. So it's just ridiculous. But I have a duct tape car, a duct tape media cabinet. Duct tape fixes everything. But are you avoiding spending on things that you really should be, like fixing your mirror on your car? So you want to pay attention to areas where you avoid spending. Some people are so extremely frugal, it's ridiculous, and it borders on some type of like mental illness or some trauma from their own childhood or something. But you want to pay attention to areas where you're not spending money, where maybe you should, and then reframing your retirement assets. Those exist to be used in retirement and largely spent. Now, I'm not talking about the concept of dying with zero. I think that's not prudent at all, but you can be intentional and prudent with spending money in retirement. And a big part of that is just reframing and changing your mindset that, like, yes, these assets are for me to enjoy my retirement, to provide financial security. So I need to balance my present needs and present wants with what my future self may need years down the line in retirement. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.